the American people, I should say, tea parties, are we the people? I've attended a lot of the rallies and everything. And they all have exactly the same views that I do. I'm glad that you got the Arapaho, Lane's got the other Denver, whatever. Everybody's got to endorse somebody, but to be honest with you, I'm not going after anybody's endorsement, except for the delegates that's going to be here on the 20th. You're the only ones that's going to count in this race. You've got to pick. You've got to pick the choice. You've got to make the choice. Are you going to send somebody back there? Well, I'm going to use a phrase of a hero of mine, John Wayne. Somebody with grit. Somebody that will make you proud as your next congressman in the 7th Congressional District.
Since Mike's already taken care of the endorsement, I won't mention that. Listen, what I have seen in speaking to any number of groups is that the tea parties are Americans who may or may not have been involved in the political process before, but they've just had enough and they want to do something about it. And I think it's a fantastic thing that ordinary folks, you know, who would have thought 2 years ago that ordinary folks would be spending a lot of time sitting down reading nerdy healthcare policy articles and reading the Constitution and discussing it and arguing about it. It's a great, great thing. And for that is maybe the one thing that we can thank Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi for. I think, though, that we have the responsibility not just to listen to the policy issues, but also listen to a message that I think is coming through loud and clear, and that is that the Tea Party folks represent people who are very tired of career politicians of all parties. And whoever we send there needs to be somebody who will remember that the most important thing to do is to serve the delegates here and the people back here, and not masters of any party back in Washington.
I'm excited about the tea parties. This is people waking up to the importance of getting involved in government, and they're taking their country back. Republicans can take advantage of this by sticking to the Republican principles of small government, fiscal responsibility. Doesn't T and Tea Party stand for taxed enough already? And that's what Republicans are supposed to be about. And you know, I think if we could stick to the core Republican principles, we wouldn't need a Libertarian Party or a Tea Party. So small government, fiscal responsibility.
All right, now all of the candidates have come up with a question that they want to ask of each other. So they pulled straws before we started tonight, and the order that we'll have for this is we're going to go Ryan Frazier, and then Lane Sias, then Michael Deming, and then Mike Sheila. So we'll let Ryan start it off.
Thank you. How many lifelong Republicans we got in the House? I'm proud to be a lifelong Republican. You know what? I've been working all my life to try to help elect Republicans at all levels. And I'm very proud that I've done my part. My question to each and every one of you is, have you ever volunteered or contributed to a Democrat in a federal race?
Nope, never, not at all.
I'm going to take my microphone and get out of the way here. The answer to your question, though, is no. I have been a Republican since 1994. But prior to that, I was proud to be an independent. I like to look at the man. And I like to make sure that I know who I'm going to be voting for, and not just the party. And I'm sorry to say that I did not vote for John McCain this last election. I voted for Sarah Palin. She took out me on the ticket.
I want to stand up to answer this question, and I want to take this as an opportunity to talk about, because the answer to that question is yes, I have. And I want to talk about something that I've talked about to countless groups in people's homes all across this district, and that is the fact that I was a registered Democrat. When I first came out to Colorado, I had working for a Republican. I had worked on a very, very divisive campaign in South Carolina in 2000. Some of you may remember that. The candidate that I worked for was John McCain at the time. Was actually, he and his wife had adopted a little girl from Bangladesh, and the opposition turned that into a story that he'd fathered an African-American child, and it also said that he collaborated with the enemy in Vietnam. It was one of the ugliest and most untrue things I've ever seen. And when I came out here, I was so irritated by that I thought maybe there was a home for me in another party, and I registered as a Democrat out here. And I banged around that party for a few years, and no, I never worked for another candidate, but I did once make, back in 2000, I did make a donation to a Democrat. I got invited to an event, never been to a fundraiser. I've been in the military. I didn't know what happens when you walk in the door and you get strong-armed, and so I wrote a check. And if anyone wants to hold that against me and not vote for me because of it, that's fine, but I'm going to award myself a little extra time here. But I'll tell you what, I will cede to nobody here the amount of effort that I've made trying to get candidates in this party elected. I spent over 2 years of my life, most of it out of town, away from my family, laying it all on the field to try and make sure that we would not have the travesty that we have in Washington right now. And I'm proud to be a Republican, and I'm proud to stand before you and be very forthright, as I have throughout this campaign, about the goods, bads, and others about my background. My question is actually it's the same question that we were asked a few nights ago at a candidate forum. And I'm going to have to answer this one in order to ask it. But the question is, if you're the party's nominee in the fall, what's the most damaging thing that the Democrats are going to dredge up on you and use against you in that election? I'm not talking about issues, because we're all going to have issues with them. I'm talking about what else is it that they're going to use against you. Now, I'm going to have to answer that question if I'm going to ask it to anybody else, and I'll tell you what people are going to say about me, and that is the fact that my voting record here in Colorado, Jefferson County, is not only bad, it's awful. I did not exercise my right as a citizen to go to the voting booth on a number of occasions. And I talked about this on my Facebook page a couple months ago, but the bottom line is there's no excuse for that. The fact that I may have been away on military orders or working in a Republican campaign, we have an absentee voting process, and I did not use it. And all I can do is say to the voters, look, I hope you'll judge me on the totality of my service, which includes 23 and a half years in the military, and includes, as I mentioned, leaving it all on the field for a Republican candidate. But that's something that I will have to deal with.
If I should be so honored to be the CD7 nominee to go against Ed Perlmutter, what they throw at me is lack of experience, lack of polish. There's still some issues I need to learn about. I don't really understand how things work in Washington. But, I'll go back to the Gettysburg Address on that. We're supposed to have government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I'm about as of the people as they come. I just reached a tipping point across the table from Ed Perlmutter that says, I'm in. I got to defeat this guy.